Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Becoming a Powerhouse brand podcast. Today, I've got a lovely guest on, Nicky Masson, who is a business growth coach. And I'm really excited to have her on today to talk all things scaling your business and just taking that next step. You know, when you've hit those goals in your business that were on your vision board and you're just like, what is next? Like, where can I take things from now? So, Nicky, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I am so looking forward to being here.
I'm really excited to have you. Could you just tell us a bit about your journey, what you do, who you are, and how you got to where you are, basically?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. So, I'm Nikki. I am a business growth coach and I work primarily with female founders, helping them to create impactful and sustainable business growth. So, without it feeling horrible or messy or burnout. And essentially, it's about building a business and a life that feels as good as it looks. And I specialize in emotional intelligence. So, I bring kind of quite a scientific backed approach blended with business strategy to help my clients get the best results. And I've been doing this for 8 years, just over 8 years now. And when I started my coaching, like, I never ever planned to become a coach. So it was something that happened really, really organically. But I'm a big believer that things happen for a reason. So I had started a business prior to that, which kind of started from when I was made redundant, really, or essentially when I was off on maternity leave and then got made redundant. And it was through that business that it opened up my eyes to personal development. Like prior to that, I had no idea what personal development even was, or like how working on yourself can literally transform your life. So I'd been in corporate for a long time and done lots of, corporate-y style trainings, but never done anything for me really. And it was through that business that I met a coach and a mentor. And then it literally transformed my life. It sounds a bit cheesy, but it transformed my life. And I was thinking, wow, like if I can do this for me, then other people can have that same experience. So I got the opportunity to train and certify as a coach. That was back in early 2017. And I started off in a very much a therapy space. So I was always working with business owners, but it was very therapy based. So I'm a master coach in NLP, a master coach in timeline therapy. And so I blended those kind of modalities and used it to really work on like my clients as individuals. So letting go of like past experiences, trauma, like any mental and emotional blocks that were literally like almost stopping them from like getting the levels of success that they want in their business. And then I moved on to more about what I'm doing now, which is really about helping clients to grow their businesses. There's still sometimes that internal stuff like we work on, but it's been really interesting how it's evolved over the years. But I love working with women. I love working with women-owned businesses. I think that we've got so much potential as women. There's so much untapped potential, and I think it's incredible to know that we can do whatever we want essentially.
Yeah,
So
the possibilities are endless, aren't they, with what we
yes,
can do? Yeah. I love that. And I love that you also blend all of the kind of alignment and overcoming those past traumas, because that is something that I know myself in terms of scaling my own business. And I know working with my clients, it's one of those blocks that you don't even know until you do the work that it is a block. You literally will think that there's something wrong with you. You get to a point where you're trying all the things and it's just not working and you can't put your finger on what it is. And then it's so interesting to understand that actually so many of our mental and physical blocks as well are caused by our own beliefs and our own past traumas and experiences.
yeah, definitely. And I think, often we search for an external thing, don't we, to like move forward or, make things better or to get to that next level of success. And it's often not the next strategy or it's not something that is outside of us. It's often inside of who we are. And not everybody needs or wants therapy, but it's usually something that is inside of us. It's creating a block or preventing us from getting to that next level. So sometimes it's a shift in the way that we think. Sometimes it's actually unlocking something that's happened in the past, like a past trauma that you might not even associate with what's happening today. But what we know is that like most of the event that, well, basically the way that we show up today, so that's how we think, how we feel, how we behave, is always attributed to something in the past.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. I find it fascinating.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to touch on because I know when I used to see a lot of stories like big transformations that you see, particularly in the entrepreneurial world, a lot of the trauma were very traumatic things, and it's very easy for you to then think that, well, I don't have any of that. I didn't have that kind of childhood. I didn't go through any of those experiences, and kind of brush any beliefs or um other types of traumas under the carpet, thinking they're not big enough. They're not big enough to really class them as a trauma, but a trauma could be you being left to cry for half an hour as a baby. Like it could be so small, couldn't it?
It absolutely can, and you're absolutely right. Like, it doesn't have to be like the big trauma that we might perceive it to be. Like, what we know is the basis of our personalities are formed by the age of 7. So what we've experienced in that time literally shapes who we are for the rest of our life. So like you say, it could be that there's just a memory there of being left to cry, or maybe it's something that someone said to you, but then someone may have said something to you when you were a child, but then further things have happened after that, like events have layered on, and it's further reinforced a belief, and then that starts to play out in like today's sort of world, if you like. So yeah, it's not always the big things, and it's often not even what we think it is. It can be
Yeah.
something completely different, but everything that we've been through in our life, like every event, every circumstance, every memory, it's all recorded in our unconscious mind. So it's in there, even if we don't remember it consciously. So there's usually something that's happened in the past that we can unlock, if you like, that will enable us to move forward. And I think, again, that's really great about like being able to work on yourself, is because it's an infinite thing. Like, you can continue to work on yourself and become a better person, if you like, and then you're always going to continue to get the results from that. And it's an incredible thing.
Yeah. How do you know if you've got a past trauma that might be stopping you? Are there any kind of signs that you notice in terms of entrepreneurship and growing your business that it may be a past trauma that is literally holding you back?
Yeah. So I think there's obviously the obvious thing of remembering something. Like, let's just say you've been in an accident, for example, like that could create trauma that you can recall and remember. If there's nothing that you can actually recall or attribute it to, then it's looking out for signs where you might be like holding yourself back or not showing up to your true potential. So an example of this is where fear plays a part. So you might not be taking action or moving forward because you've got a fear of rejection, or a fear of criticism, or a fear of failure. Now, there's always a root cause, there's always a first event that actually links to that particular fear. So the first time we felt the fear of rejection, for example, and then we develop our thoughts based on that particular event or circumstance. And like I said before, like, we then have so many different events and circumstances that layer on top of that and further reinforce like that particular fear. And so our thoughts produce our feelings, and our feelings produce our behaviours. So we start to see it show up in business. And maybe you don't want to pick up the phone and speak to potential clients because you don't want to be rejected. You don't want to hear the word no. You don't want to run the risk of them going, I'm really sorry, I don't want to work with you. And so rather than go through that pain, because it is painful,
Yeah.
then you don't take the action at all. So it's very much looking at what is the behaviour that's happening now, and then almost reverse engineering that to think, okay, well, what was the root cause of that, is of this behavior now? Because it might be playing out now, but there's probably something from the past that has led to this. It's not just what is happening today.
Yeah. And do you think anybody can tap into what that root cause is?
I think, yeah, I think you can. I think you have to be very careful, because a lot of the time you're playing with, like, well, you're dealing with the unconscious mind. So if you want to go through therapy, just make sure that somebody is taking you through that process who is trained to do so. But yeah, absolutely, anybody can tap into it. And there are so many different ways of doing that and different modalities. And I would just say, get curious. Like, if something isn't quite working in your life, or it feels a bit sticky, or it feels a bit messy, it's like, get curious, like, what's going on there? Like, how could I move forward from it? Like, don't like be worried about what it might uncover, if that makes sense. Because I
Yeah.
think sometimes people are a bit worried that they don't want to face what might come up. Or actually, again, they might be thinking, well, there's nothing that's ever happened in my life. I've had a great life. So what could there possibly be? But when we talk about like events in the past, it can either be prior age 7, so when basis of our personality is formed. But we can also pick up our emotional state and our personality from being in the womb. So when we were in the womb, the emotions and how our mother was feeling get immediately passed down to us. So we carry that emotional weight as if it's our own. So everything that you ever feel, heard, said, tasted, smelled, it's all recorded from the moment of conception.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It's absolutely crazy. And then there's also, it can be passed down for a past life, and it can be passed down genealogically as well. So even if you can't consciously remember when you were in the womb, there could be something that could have come from there. Like maybe your mother went through a stressful time, or maybe she had a fall. Like there can be things like that that could have happened.
Yeah.
Or it could be passed down from a past life if you believe in those kind of things. And, you know, we can't prove whether that's right or wrong. Like, so whatever you believe is true for you.
And can you clear these fears? Can you clear these blocks? Like once you've got to that root cause, can you literally kind of not necessarily erase them, but can you do anything with those beliefs once you know where it came from, once that root cause is, like
Yeah,
move forward?
yeah, definitely. So, like in a process with timeline therapy, for example, we're looking to find the root cause. So that's the very first time that you say felt that emotion of fear or anger and sadness. So we're looking to find the root cause and then take the charge off that emotion. So it's not about changing the core memory in a sense of like you can remember the event happened. We're not trying to change that, or you're
Yeah.
not trying to like make you forget it. But what we are doing is we want to change your perception of that event so that you're not carrying that unwarranted or that negative emotion with you.
Yeah.
So literally taking the charge off it. And what we know is if you go back to that root cause, you take the charge off all the subsequent events. But if you only focus on what's happening today, and let's just say if you recognize that there's a fear of rejection, if you only work on what's happening today, you're just working on the symptomology, you're not actually dealing with anything in the past, which is probably where it's come from.
Amazing. And does this create like an instant shift for most people or
Yeah.
for a lot of people?
Yeah. It usually creates something like quite profound and quite instant, but it can take a couple of weeks to integrate because you're literally changing pretty much a chemical imbalance inside of your mind. So it's profound as in it can be instant, but also it's going to be that integration. So you're going to see the benefits and the results play out over the long term. But then, like with anything, it's so important that you take action. Like you have to be able to take action towards the things that you want.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
do the things, you know, like for example, if there is a fear coming up for you, it's like, okay, well, how do we put things in place so you take action and you implement and you do things that are the opposite to what you're currently doing in relation to that fear? Because ultimately, that's where things embed and you start to be able to move forward from there.
I love that. I'd love to know, how did you get into this work?
It's like I literally went through this process myself. So I'd gone through that process with a coach. Because when I had this first business, I was that person that had a huge amount of fear, like a fear of rejection, a fear of criticism. Like I could not pick up the phone and speak to somebody, like you know, a potential client. Like I couldn't do the things that I needed. I couldn't put myself out there on social media. But I had been through a lot of traumatic events. And it wasn't until I got to like the age of 35 and I suddenly thought, like, well, basically prior to that, I just thought, this is who I am. Like, I've been through this stuff, you know, I am who I am. Like, you kind of just, yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. But then when I started to like realize how the mind works, I just became fascinated. I was like, actually, you can change the perception and you can think and feel in a different way. And you don't have to settle. Like, yeah, we've been I've been through some like horrific things, but that doesn't mean that that has to like that's not who I am for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so the thing for me was about like it doesn't matter where you've come from or even what your current circumstances are, like you can change your future. And that was the most powerful thing. So I'd gone through this coaching process myself and been through like NLP coaching, timeline therapy, and then got the opportunity to train. And it was one of those things where you go, right, this is what I'm supposed to be doing for the rest of my life. Put it now. So
I
yes,
love that.
it was a very organic process. Like none of it was like pre-planned. It was just right. Okay, I'm doing this because I originally went through coaching to help me in my other business, and it did. and then got the opportunity to train, and then wanted to do that as a coach and make that my full-time kind of career. So yeah, and this is where I am now.
It's so fascinating to hear. And I speak to a lot of women, maybe it's because I'm in my 30s myself anyway, but so many women kind of get to this point in their business and their life where they're almost understanding who they are on a deeper level. They're overcoming these past fears, these traumas, and they're literally changing their lives, whether it is starting a new business or pivoting or leaving that job that they've been feeling stuck in because they feel like they need to work there. And it's so inspirational to see those huge shifts at that point in your life. And isn't it amazing that we are told in our teens that we need to make a decision, like what job do you want to do for the rest of your life, and this is kind of the path you need to go on. But it's proof, isn't it, that we are surrounded by all these incredible people, like even in their 50s or 60s or even beyond that, that are deciding, actually, this isn't what I want to be doing. I get to choose and take my next step in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's often like something profound might happen in your life. So for me, it was having my children. Like that was such a catalyst for change for me. But actually, things needed to get worse before they got better. So when I
Yeah.
had my children, I had really bad postnatal depression and really bad anxiety. But through that, I was able to realize that things needed to change. Like, and I wanted more. Like, I knew there was more out there. I didn't want to go back to the same job. Like it changes your whole perception of life. And for me, it made me like go and find answers, like go and find a different way. And luckily I was able to find those answers. But yeah, I think it is just proof that you can change anything. Like you're in control. Like you don't have to settle for something. So again, if you like you feel that something isn't working, or you know that there's something else waiting out there, like go and follow that. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't
Yeah.
need to know all the answers. You just need to know that yeah, that there's something different that you want to explore. So it's
Yeah.
incredible. Like I love that. And like I say, I was 35 when I realized it. I'm 45 now. So like it's been 10 years, but I was like, I wish I'd have known sooner in hindsight, but the fact is it did happen at some point and the transformation happened. So like one of my biggest advice would be to like just not sit on things. Like don't settle if it feels uncomfortable or sticky. That's your mind and your body giving you clues. It's literally telling you something isn't like it's not fitting.
Yeah.
Listen to it, because you know most people go through their life and they ignore the signs. So they feel it mentally and they feel it physically, but they ignore it and they just keep going, like
Yeah.
going through the same routine. And sometimes people get to the end of their life and they look back and it's too late to change anything.
Yeah, it's so sad, isn't it? And that's what they always say. They always say that when you're at the end, you regret the things that you didn't do, not the things that you did.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, and this is why I love the work that I do with women in particular, because it is about just changing things like for the better. Like we're not saying that things are fundamentally wrong, but it's just you being able to go, God, yeah, like I can improve my life here. I can show up as a better like parent. I can show up as a better friend. I can show up as a better business owner, and all of those things. It's just about moving forward and thinking how you can do things differently and better.
Yeah. And I know that you help people in business to scale their business, to like increase their revenue and everything. And what do you notice in terms of this work with that shift? Because I think once, like I said at the beginning, once you've hit those goals, you've hit that level and you're looking for that next thing, that brings on a whole new area of challenges and identity shifting that you have to go through. So I'd love to know from you, what do you see as kind of the most common themes in that level of leadership, essentially?
Yeah, well, there's a few things. One is, I think, you know, as humans, we're very good at holding ourselves back in the sense of like we almost put like a cap on ourselves, like a glass ceiling. And that can come down to our own beliefs or with like feelings of not feeling good enough. So you might have achieved a certain level of success, but then all of a sudden it almost like stalls, or it feels like you can't get beyond that next level. And that again is usually down to our thoughts and the way that we feel about ourselves. And I see this like happen all the time where, like, let's say women will get to a certain level and then they plateau. So there's always going to be like a new challenge. There's always going to be like your thoughts and your fears are always going to play a part. So you're always going to have them. But again, it's recognizing that and thinking, okay, right, this is happening now, but what do I now need to do to shift? Because
Yeah.
it's not like when you work on yourself, it's not just a one-time thing where you go, oh, I've done that little bit of work now. I'm great for the rest of my life. It is a continuous thing, and I think it's that whole thing of there's a new level and there's a new devil. So you're always something is gonna come up internally that's gonna challenge you, and that plays out a lot. So again, it's being curious, but also I think it's just understanding that that is going to happen, and that's okay. It's part of the process. It will feel sticky and it will feel messy, but that is showing you that you are moving and that
Yeah.
you are growing. And as soon as it starts to feel like a kind of easier and more settled, that's when you're in your comfort zone. So the growth isn't actually happening there. The growth is happening in those stickier moments.
Love that. And
Yeah,
that's going to help, like with that personal growth in itself, like that is life changing, isn't it? Like that, and that will create that ripple effect into every other area of the things that you're doing.
yeah, definitely. It really does. And I think it's something like 85% of our overall success is down to what is happening inside of us. So that's huge. And only
Yeah.
50% is down to the skills and the knowledge that you acquire. But
Yeah.
of course, what do? We go searching for the knowledge.
Yeah,
we go
exactly.
we go searching for the information, but it's such a small part of our overall success. So if you can learn to like lead first and go first and think about like who you are as a person and who you want to be and how you want to show up, how you want to lead, that's always going to pay off so much more than
Yeah.
anything else.
Amazing. And what would you say to somebody? We're like approaching the end of 2025, going into a brand new year now. Do you have any tips for anyone that is in that stage of getting ready to wrap up from one year and going into the next year? Like, what can we be looking at in terms of setting our goals and really taking that next step with confidence as well going into a new year?
Yeah. Do you know what? That's such a great question because I love this saying, and it's how you start, sorry, how you end one year is how you'll start the next.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So how you actually end a year is so important, because that's really going to set your kind of path, if you like, for the following year. So I would be encouraging everyone to think about like how do they want to feel at the end and at the end of the year. And kind of that sort of sets the precedence for the following year. So, we know at this time of year it gets super busy, like the mental load is like, can be a lot. But ultimately, think about like, where do you want to be? Where do you want to land? Not just in terms of results or goals, but like how you want to feel. And, if you were to shut your laptop today, what would you want that past 12 months to kind of feel like and look like? And like, yeah, sort of kind of what is that state of mind that you want to be in at that point, because that's really what you want to be working towards. And but I'd also say it's about a lot about planning and preparation as well for the following year. So there's kind of two things that I see hold business people back at this time of year. One is like November, December, people start to slow down massively. And this might be because they're telling themselves that nobody is buying or they're too busy, there's too much going on in their life. But then the momentum slows down. So it might not necessarily be a massive like push time for you, but still be thinking about again how can you keep that momentum going, because if you suddenly pull back completely, that's going to then have that detrimental effect
Yeah.
in the new year. So remember, how you end one year is how you're going to start the next. But also I see a lack of preparation for the new year come January. So sometimes it's taking people like, the first month or even the whole of Q1 just to find traction and momentum. So wherever you can get yourself planned and ready and know what's coming up, and look at the actions that you want to take, and be focused on that, they are really the two things that are massively going to help you. And you know what? Like, you want to be able to take time off at Christmas. So it's like, what do you need to do now so you can shut your laptop and switch off, have an amazing Christmas with your friends and family, and know that everything is ready and set for when you start back in January, because then you're going to come at it from the right energy.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess the other thing is also reviewing what this year has brought in, what has gone well, what maybe hasn't, what needs to be let
Yeah.
go of. Like this year has been about the year of the snake, hasn't it? So it's been about
Yeah.
all the shedding, letting go, and releasing things that no longer serve us and getting ready to go into a new year knowing what we want to be doing and having that clarity over our next steps.
Yeah, definitely. And again, that's a lot of people don't take that time to review and reflect. But if you just have a bit of time where you can just look back and take on board those learnings and then apply the learnings, that's going to help you so much. Because if you've been in business for say just this one year, you've got a whole year's worth of data now, a whole
Yeah.
year's worth of information and knowledge and awareness that you can use.
Yeah, so powerful. Those reviews are really essential anyway, aren't they?
Yeah.
Nikki, how can anybody work with you? I know you've got a masterclass available, which I'm going to link in the show notes below. What would be the next steps for somebody finding out more about working with you, or how could you help them?
So I hang out mainly on Instagram and a little bit on LinkedIn. So come and connect with me. I am at Nicky Masson Global on Instagram. So yeah, just come and say hello and we can have a chat. And I always just love to connect people and start a conversation, connect with people and start a conversation. So yeah, that will be the first point of contact.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. If you've listened to this episode and really enjoyed it, if you've had some key takeaways, if you want to find out more about working with Nikki or what else that she does, how she can help you with scaling your business, then do drop Nikki a message. Please leave a review for the podcast as well. And I will see you in the next episode. Thanks so much, Nikki.
Thank you.